I sat down before I was watching the Giants. They were doing pretty well.
Really? I
And
haven't paid
yeah,
attention to any fantasy football. My
against Green Bay.
I've kind of given up until end season because I'm in a good position, so I'm not doing
I know.
much. And then Michael got mad at me last night because I was like, I didn't want to lose Mahomes or whoever, and he's like, you could just bench him, right, and then like pick other people. I was like, ah. And he said, I'm so mad you're doing so well when you don't even know how this works.
I know, right? Drives Michael
Yeah.
crazy.
But yeah, we had a terrible UFC last night, right? It was one
Oh
of
yeah,
those ones that was supposed to be a huge card, right? Probably one of the best on paper fights. So you had
yeah.
a women's fight and a men's fight. Now, I
Okay.
have to say something though, and we've talked about this many times. The
Yeah.
wrestling in the UFC is getting incredibly boring, right? And it's what I mean is you have a 25-minute fight and it's just a Russian Dagestanian guy who's phenomenal at wrestling who just holds him down for 5 minutes every round.
That's boring.
So
Yeah, that's
listen, I understand people like that's part of the game and I get it, but either these people have to train better to go against that, or the UFC is just a grappling
or call it wrestling and
sport.
not UFC.
That's what I was gonna say. I was watching a podcast and they were talking about how there's no good wrestling. Like it's weird how wrestling's not bigger in our country because if we do so well. Like the U.S. is really good, is known for wrestling in other countries. But
Penn State especially.
yeah, and
Penn
then
State dominates in wrestling in the collegiate level.
right, yeah, and then I was like, well, the UFC is basically just wrestling now. Like all the champions are just wrestlers. So
Yeah.
the women's fight was the same way. And as someone who likes the sport, but I understand like there has to, I understand it from the perspective of that's part of the game, right? It's part of the sport, and you can do that. But then I look at it from the casual viewer and how we got to bring more eyes to the sport, which is what Dana White's thinking about all the time. And it's not
Right.
wrestling. So
Well, yeah, maybe you can have it, but you have to have a time limit on it. You can't just sit there on the ground for 5 minutes. You have to make a move and get the person up, or they break
right.
it up and you start again, standing position.
Because basically, for like beginning of each round, it's just right to the ground. So now you have 4 minutes and 50 seconds of just a guy holding him on the ground or against the cage. Like there wasn't much to it. So it was definitely, again, it was expected, right?
Yep.
We expected it to go that way. You just always hope it doesn't go that way,
Right.
And then it does every time. So yeah.
Was that a late UFC?
The usual 10 o'clock. And then everyone's been playing Arc Raiders. So even Michael got involved. So Mike and I had some fun with that last night. And that was about it. We've all been kind of addicted to that.
Right.
So that's kind of been our
Arc
free
Raider.
time. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. But that's pretty much been the week. We haven't done much. I mean, I've just been so busy with editing. I've been doing like 5 different projects. So
Your hair is all over the place in the back.
in the
just
back,
so you
yeah.
know.
It's because of
Standing
the
there.
headset.
Oh,
But yeah, so this week's been pretty busy for me. But
must be chilly there. You got a sweat jacket on.
yeah, we're getting to that point where I was saying to someone the other night, my apartment is very good about keeping air in and not seeping out. But if I have the air conditioning on at night, the next day it is cold. I would be freezing right now, and I don't want to turn the heat on because Dad's instilled in me not to use the heat.
What do you have? Electric heat there?
I think so. Yeah.
What do you have?
Yeah, it's electric.
Oh, is it electric?
Yeah, I think it's the same as my air conditioning. It comes out of the same unit, so I'm going to assume it's
Oh
electric.
no, that's a blower then.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not electric. All right, that's better. Electric's more expensive. But
Okay. I'll take your
if
word
you're
for it.
chilly, you could. Well, I mean, obviously, don't walk around in a tank shirt and shorts.
That's
if
just
it's
not how
cold,
I
put a
live.
shirt on it. I know. Well, it's getting chilly here too. Dad, he likes to shut the heats off in all the bedrooms we don't use, which is great. But then I open our door in the morning and I get an Arctic frost.
Yeah, it just hits you in the face.
Like, it is so cold. I have to shut the bedroom door because we just wind up heating the whole upstairs the bedroom. So now we programmed it to put the heat at least to 63 or 64 in the morning, so it's not frigid.
Oh, wow.
His hands
See,
are
mine,
freezing.
64 is what I sleep at. So if that's considered, you're saying you're putting the heat on 264? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, the spare bedrooms, they were at 59 the other day without heat. It was really chilly. Like it dropped down with no heat on to 59. I said, all right, that's a little crazy. because you just wind up heating it with the rest of the house. So we're better off just taking the chill out of those rooms. So that's when I said, let's put them on and set it low. We don't need them pumping heat in those rooms. But Dad works in the spare room that gets its heat from the room that Mike used to have.
Right.
So if you don't have heat on there, Dad's room is really cold. He sits in there with a little space heater.
Oh yeah, I believe that.
Like, are we poor? I don't think so.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
Well, let me tell you. I'll tell you what warmed me up this week. I wrote this one down for the podcast just to. I was on the treadmill, and when I watch the news when I'm on the treadmill, Fox News had a live high-speed chase in Los Angeles. Let me tell you, this guy, normally I wouldn't care. This guy was weaving in and out of traffic. We're not talking on the highway. We're talking in between streets, going down the wrong lane. He didn't hit a single thing. This was a half an hour speed chase. I watched the whole thing. Right?
It's like a TV show.
It was like a TV show. They were like, the cops have to, it's too dangerous. The cops have to back off. This guy's going back and forth. He's weaving. He eventually gets to the highway. Like, it got to the point I couldn't even tell you what car it was. Let's just put it this way. It wasn't a nice enough car to steal. So the guy.
Well, maybe they were leaving from stealing something from someplace.
Exactly. But the guy basically gets away. He goes to this apartment complex, which clearly he must live in, but he parks the car. And but I was at the point, this guy was doing so well driving. He didn't hit anything. He's going through moving traffic. He was like a professional, right?
You sure it wasn't GTA 7 ad?
I don't know, but that would have been crazy. But he goes, right? He's bombing through. It got to the point where I was like, I hope this guy gets away. I was so impressed. I was so impressed. Yeah. He got clipped in the back by a Cybertruck because he was splitting lanes, whatever. But he was fine, like no damage to the car or whatever. But this is what really got me, and this is why I bring it up. So they have a helicopter that's watching it the whole time, right? Because the police cars got away or couldn't continue.
Keep up.
So he goes into kind of like a back parking lot. Ready, Mom? You got a white car. So here's the wall to the apartment complex.
Yeah.
White car, black car, white car. Right? He jumps out, which is this car's the. So, sorry, white car, black car, the white car that he stole and parked. Right? Okay. He jumps the fence to get into the apartment complex. He basically gets away clean. Now, this was back on Thursday. This was Thursday. And I'm watching this up on the treadmill. 15 minutes later, the police come. Now, I don't want to say this. Wow. I'm going to say it. 2 female cops. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. I'll tell you why I find this funny, right? They already have kind of a bad rap. They go to the cars, and the helicopter is looking at them. And right, as I said, white car, black car, white car that they stole. The 2 female cops are looking at the wrong car, and the guy in the helicopter is like, "Hey, that one." Yeah. And they're like, "What? Which one?" It was a tough watch, but I was watching this whole thing. I got through I was running longer or walking longer than I should have been because I was so enticed by this. Yeah. I was like, will these ladies figure out which car it is? And you know what's better? The best part is it wasn't even parked well, right? It's over the lines and everything. So you would think maybe it's not the one that's backed in. Right? Oh, so I was laughing.
Common police knowledge 101 when you come up to a crime
maybe check
scene.
the one that's the car that's looks like it's been ditched.
Or has dinged all over from a high-speed chase.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think the back right fender or bumper was dinged from the Cybertruck. But I just thought that was funny because it was a good, I mean, it's a full half an hour because I do my half an hour walks, but I was going. I was like, whoa, he gave me a little motivation.
I was watching, I told you I was watching that series Slow Horses about MI5 in London, which is their security, their domestic security, as opposed to MI6, who's James Bond, who's the foreign security, right? So they call it MI5. But anyhow, every week they're running through either a train station or a city street or something, and they're always running into people. Like they're going so fast, they're always mowing people down. Move out, like, get out of the way. I'm thinking to myself, if this was true to life, every day you go to work, you're gonna
get knocked out. Yeah,
somebody on your way down the escalator. There's always somebody coming the opposite way. It's like they always have to do it that way.
Luckily, I want to say this right now. We have no AI articles except for, one, your country music one, but we'll get to that. But I
Yeah.
was watching something on. They're talking about New York City, and I don't know if you know this, but even though New York City is a shithole, uh, crime is down 67%. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty impressive. How'd they do it? With
Well,
AI
wait,
nowadays,
based on what years? You always have to ask that question because they love to talk about how crimes are down in these blue cities, but they're basing it on when we had COVID, when nobody was out on the street. So they compare it to like the end of COVID. Now we're starting to move away from the COVID years, but sometimes you
yeah.
got to really look at what years. Go
So
ahead,
I
then. Now,
believe this was within like the last 4 years, like 67% in the past 4 years. But that's kind of besides the point. But they were talking about how they do it, and with cameras nowadays, and AI, basically in New York, for people that do serious crimes that are multiple offenders, there's about a pocket of about 600 people, right? 600 bad people. And they have
yeah.
them all on camera. So they just follow them to where they are and they go, hey, go get them. And all the cops just basically go there. So I just thought that was kind of, I
Right,
was like, oh, that's
and
easy.
then the district attorneys release them all, so it's
Yeah. So
pointless.
it's pointless. But I just
Yeah,
thought
that's why
that
the
was,
cops aren't even doing arrests anymore. They're like, "Why are we
what's the
bothering them?
point?
Just put them out on the street." They sit in the
Yeah.
car. There's no headaches, no victimization of them, and it's only gonna get worse, but
Yeah.
whatever.
But I was just thinking about how hard it is to get away with crimes in New York City, considering how many cameras and stuff there are. But as you said, they just get released anyway.
They don't
So,
care.
yeah.
These people don't care that I mean, that's the audaciousness. You go into stores now, I don't know about down by you, but even up here in New Jersey, definitely in New York, things that used to be out, it's all behind glass
Glass
now.
now. Yeah. Yeah, I
Because
believe it.
they can't stop. They just come in with a bag and they would just start taking stuff,
Right.
like,
If it's
right
under,
after
well,
COVID.
California was the worst, right? When they were like, if it's under $1,000, we're not going to press charges or go after you. So they just go into every store, take $999 worth of stuff, and then walk out, and there's nothing they can do.
Right.
Remember that?
Right, and what are you gonna stop it as a sales clerk making minimum wage?
No.
5 people coming in with bats and pillowcases to steal stuff?
Yeah.
So they it's a joke to say, why do we even have crime statistics? Because in certain cities, crime is just acceptable. You gotta redefine what crime is because they just go in and steal and take.
Yeah. So that was kind of my big news of the week, the high speed chase.
However, you say that, and this other story comes to mind. I didn't bring it. We've talked about it briefly, but that January 6th pipe bomber, reasonably the person that caused the riot, if you will, the fact that somebody had planted these bombs outside the DNC on January 5th and called it in right when they were about to tally the electoral votes, and all of a sudden they had to shut everything down. Very suspicious about this whole pipe bomber. And even Darren Beatty, for years after it, was following the story. So, to your point, they've got tons of footage. It's the FBI. They got this angle. They've lost some, quote unquote, lost some footage, right? They still don't know who this pipe bomber is.
Can't find
After
them.
how many years, the FBI, and there is tons of video footage and a lot of what they used to call conspiracy theorists with ideas about, hey, how come we're missing chunks of the video here and there, and this person saw that, and they show cars, everything else, but yet we still ironically can't figure out who this person is. Just recently, something surfaced that was leaked that they identified allegedly at a metropolitan police officer, a woman was the pipe bomb planter. That was then retracted. My point is, for all the technology we have, I'm sure somebody out there knows who this pipe bomber
Yeah, they just don't
is.
want to say it.
Nobody wants to, well, it has to, somebody's got to uncover this information because I just find it hard to believe. We've got pictures of this person sitting on a bench, walking around,
Yeah.
going around the building with the hoodie on. I'm like, oh, come on. You can't figure out who this is. Come on.
Well, that's like
Anyhow.
when they talk about the was it the Kirk shooter? I forget what shooter it was, but they're like, this guy had. You're telling me this kid had no social media, no digital footprint, no nothing? It's like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Oh,
Everyone.
Butler.
Yeah,
We still
is
know
it
nothing
yeah.
about the shooter from Butler that
Yeah.
almost assassinated the president
That's
of the
right.
United
That's
States.
what it was. Yeah, and that was almost. Could that have been back in February? I don't even remember when that was.
Oh,
But
I think we've had the anniversary of it, so it's going
wow, it has
on
been a
a
year.
and a
Wow,
half.
god damn,
Yeah.
I don't even remember it
Yeah.
being a year. But
Yeah.
it's stuff like that where, yeah, I think. Again, I don't blame Kash Patel. I think it's more so I blame the FBI because I think there are pockets of the FBI that are so corrupt and untouchable that it just makes you realize how little power the director has in all of these government companies, I guess you can call them, embassies. No, not embassies. What's the word I'm looking for? Headquarters.
Departments.
Departments. Thank you.
Department.
Jeez,
Yeah,
struggles.
organizations.
Yeah.
And I saw Ed Martin on the War Room, and he literally he's like Bondi with 900 things on their plate. I mean, it is an overwhelming amount of I'll call them cases, whether they come to fruition or not.
Hmm.
I believe that I fully expected that there was going to be a ton when somebody finally takes the time to start uncovering all this. But every one of these stories are huge in terms of our history, right?
Right.
And there's so many of them going on right now. So when you hear him talk, he's rattling off all these things. Yes, we've got the voter fraud here. We've got the Clinton scandal here. The Clinton Foundation is now under investigation. Plus, we got to deal with the Butler assassination. Like he's all these things. Your head starts spinning. You're like, how is not one, but one administration going to tackle all this? It's
Well,
really
I don't think there's ever
depressing.
been
I'm glad they're doing it.
yeah, I don't think there's ever been an administration that by the end was like, hey, we hit everything. We accomplished everything we wanted to.
Well, it's not even that accomplished. It's just the unraveling of so many bad things that
Yeah.
have unnecessarily happened. I mean, it was necessary for them, but these things that were all conspiracy theories are now, there's proof behind them, and you got to investigate them, and you got to prosecute them, and you have to do it, even if you don't get, as he put it, for anybody that we can't prosecute for legal reasons, like say statute of limitations, we're going to name and shame because you can't do this to our nation.
Right.
And it's been, I would say I'm going to go back and say maybe 20 years, the corruption has just ramped up so much in America that to finally have a period of time where the citizens have seen enough of it and the citizens are demanding things, and we can lead in now, this might be the segue to the Epstein stuff, but the citizens are saying, we wanted this stuff done and you're not doing it. And we're really getting fed up with this. And it becomes overwhelming, the amount of shit that they're throwing at everybody that, listen, great news, we're working on this, but your head just spins. It just is like, where does it end and when does it where does it begin?
Right.
So
Um,
anyhow.
Yeah, we can get into the Epstein stuff because we've had a lot of kind of major updates in a sense to the files and emails that have come out. I'm sure you saw this week that there was a couple things alluded to Trump being one of Epstein's friends and one of the guys that knew what was going on.
You had one with the Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, we'll do that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have like 4 articles on this, but there's so many. This is so many like he said, she said sort of deals because they allude that Trump knew what was going on, and then the lady who was quote unquote one of the victims said she's never met Trump, right?
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately she's dead now, but it's one of those things where after what happened with the BBC stuff, which I also have an article on, it's kind of like a who do you believe? And I think there's just more evidence that points that at least the stuff in the email about Trump isn't true. But it's funny how these liberal news outlets are trying to kind of almost like force these in. So,
well, of course, this whole thing is beyond ridiculous, and I'm kind of seeing it. We've talked about this before. I understand that the big base, they wanted the Epstein files released. I did too, and I still do. But now it's become a game of, well, we're only going to release it and make sure it attacks Trump, or we got to find a Trump angle.
Yeah.
Even people not involved with the Epstein or cared as much about it, they got to have somehow just put Trump's name in it somewhere. And when you read some of like this article, it's the BBC.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Trump is now suing the BBC for $5 billion. So
I
you
thought
now
it was
look
one.
through these.
I thought it was $1 billion.
No, $5 billion.
Wow.
And they apologized and they thought that was good enough. Screw you.
Goodbye,
okay?
yeah.
Now you see an article like this. I don't know the timing of it, but if you read through it, the crap they put in there about ties to Trump. Oh, come on. It's like, I'm sure Epstein mentioned a lot of people, like the woman in the middle, Rummel or Rummelin, whatever her name is. Not my favorite person, but I don't think she was involved in the sense that a while ago we said, part of the reason why they don't want to release these files is because he did deal with people who had nothing to do with his island.
Right.
And they don't want to be associated with it. Okay.
But let me tell you the dumb one though. Could I tell you the dumbest one is the guy on the right, right? So Wolf, right?
Yeah.
So he was in talks with Epstein saying, hey, give me stuff on Trump. Then this was back when he was alive. So this guy knew the whole time about what was going on Epstein Island, right? So
Yes.
he threw
Yeah.
away out the incriminating information. He's like, well, if Trump's not in it, I'm not going to tell anyone. So, so,
Exactly.
so
It,
this guy should be arrested for knowing what Epstein was doing on the island because he was in contact with him, right? And then,
oh, well, the guy on the left is Larry Summers. He was Clinton's in Clinton's cabinet. Okay,
right,
his whole thing was, I can help you make something out of the story with Trump.
right,
That was all he wanted to do. Epstein Epstein was an unbelievable freak in the sense that he went out of his way, and it just goes to show you these people in powerful positions, how above they think they are of the rest of the world, right? He obviously had a means of contacting these individuals.
yeah,
Maybe some of them were involved, some of them weren't. In his mind, he thought he was a somebody. And I have read several articles, and I'm starting to agree. And I would say, not because I tend to be a supporter of Trump's policies, I say it because take a step back. The one reality, the Democrats were in power for 4 years with Epstein.
right,
Nobody was screaming for his files then. Now, all of a sudden, they think, and you see from articles like this, they're going to try and tie Trump's name into it
right.
any way they can. Yes, Trump knew the guy. But apparently, the story I've read is as soon as Trump realized, because that woman you talked about, she was a waitress at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah,
That's where Epstein would groom some of these things. And a story I've heard, and timing wise, is starting to make sense. I've even seen some liberal publications agree with this. Once Trump got wind of this guy and figured out what he was about, he kicked him out.
he kicked him out. He was
No
never
more
allowed back
coming.
in. Yeah,
And I'm also seeing that was enough for Epstein because he's a nut job. He had to have a relationship with Trump. He wanted it even more after the person said to him, and he wasn't
you
even
wanted
president
dirt
then.
on him. Yeah,
Right. He turned them and he said, "You know what? I'm done with you. I don't need you." Well, Epstein doesn't like that. He's got to have a little something on everybody. That's my take on that individual. And too many of these idiots fell for it and were being used and vice versa. I still go back to, I wanted the Epstein files. I want to know who these pet people are, the criminals, right? If there was something on Trump that was damning, we would have seen it by now.
right. But yeah, and that's where I think this is where BBC and all these these emails really fall apart because there's too many witnesses who were there who have talked to news analysts or journalists, whatever you want to call them, who have said they've never seen Trump there or like they've never had it.
Right.
But then these emails come out, and then let's say they are true. There's so much contradicting information. I don't know which one to go by. But I know that one of the emails is definitely fake because the lady in it who is the quote unquote victim and it's redacted. She says no. She goes, I've never seen. She's like, I've never. It literally says in the email from Epstein allegedly, it says yes, Trump is with the victim in a room, and then literally the lady who's the victim redacted goes, oh no, I've never met the guy. So
Right.
maybe she's lying. Who knows? But I don't know why she would at this point when it's been how many years later. But it's just you can't like they're peddling these emails as if they're true when we already have evidence that they're not true. So
Well, and this is the game that they play. And when you read this BBC article and others like it, you just got to mention Trump's name. They
yeah,
pull information for the BBC about Epstein files. Who was mentioned? Look how many times they have to link Trump's name to everything. And nowhere in there, from what I could see, was damning. It was them trying to make it look damning. We could really get
yeah,
him on information. Really, what information is that? Because guess what? The Democrats would have scrubbed that info a long time ago if it was there.
right.
So my concern is, which is usually the case, they'll keep going with this until somebody creates a Russia hoax and it gets steam and it becomes a crime and we got to bring in charges because they just keep talking about it hoping something will stick.
I think it's still crazy though that guy on the right, Wolf specifically, has
Yeah.
known Epstein for years, knew what was going on, didn't say anything until he had something on Trump, and now he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, let me now come out because now I have something on Trump," which ends up not being true. Plus, he's a
Right.
no, and let's say it was true. Okay, this guy is a known Trump hater, so it's like, how do you go by him? Of course, he's gonna say something to make Trump look bad. You need someone who's actually unbiased, but even then there's just not enough info.
And here's my point. I was with you with the whole Epstein files. I'd like them released. I want to see it.
Right.
But they've turned it into, it's not even about that anymore. And now I understand why Trump, being Trump, and also the situation saying enough with the Epstein stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's not, it is what it is. He was a pedophile. He should have been prosecuted. He got a sweetheart deal down in Florida, right? Later on, he did even more stuff. And to Trump's point, you're going to try, I mean, look at these things people are trying to do with the current president. I grew up in the Clinton years. You don't even have to dig that deep. You want some salacious stuff? Go look at that president before you start looking at Obama or the next Bush or Trump. It's so obvious what they're doing that I understand why the current president is saying, listen, you're bringing so much attention to this. He should have just released the stuff. Frankly, he should have just told them whatever's out there, put it out there. It would have been over with by now. The base would have been happy and we would have been done. But I do understand now it's just going to get even worse.
Yeah.
Because they're going to start ginning things up and making stuff up. And, we've had a tremendous amount that this particular president has done for his base that he was elected in a landslide over. And still people can't get past this Epstein shit.
Yeah.
And it's all hearsay stuff. And what is it exposing? It's exposing exactly what many of us knew, that there were political people with ties to this individual who were using him and he was using them for political purposes. And that doesn't even, I'm beyond that. I'm more interested in the victims. Which one of these people actually, young girls, underage,
God,
on an island, in a plane, wherever? That's the crime. Oh, I said it again, right?
Between and I have to take those out.
Either?
No, you
well,
can't.
forget it. We can't even talk politics anymore. That's 90%.
It's true.
If you just scroll down to that very last lady, because there was a line at the end that I thought really, and she's probably not, she's obviously not a Trump lover, but where does it keep going down? Jeffrey had the second to last line. Jeffrey had a habit of trying to manipulate people, to ensnare people into his delusional world, right? He was never contacted and never sent a report. So that hits the nail on the head. Just the mere fact that he would phone call somebody or have even the remotest meet somebody somewhere, boom. For him, that was a relationship. He wanted to ensnare them, to bring them in. The worse they could do, the better. This is what everybody's hanging their hat on. Okay, especially the Democratic Party or the Trump hate people. This is what you really want to drum up instead of getting to what most of us wanted when we said we wanted the Epstein files. We want to know who the criminals are. Okay, it's obviously not Trump. You may not like him. He may have done stupid stuff, but none even the victims are saying, "Oh yeah, he was there and he was a problem."
Yeah,
so
I'd rather go by the victims than because if the victims were saying it, that's one thing. But right, they did that thing where they tried to remember they had like the 12 victims or something like that on that TV show, and they're like, "How many of you have seen Trump there?" And none of them raised their hand.
Right.
So there's just there's not. I would go by the victims before I go by some emails that can easily be faked nowadays. Right.
Exactly.
And then people make the argument of like, oh, well, Trump might be paying him off or his lawyers are paying him off. It's like, is Trump the guy worth a couple $1 billion? I don't know how much he's worth now. Or the U.S. government that has infinite money, politicians that have more money, right? Not billions of dollars, but when they add up that money, it's billions of dollars. So it's kind of like, it doesn't make sense.
Let me tell you also, another reason why this is bullshit for anybody who's following the news. Tim Burchett, who's a Republican congressman, not a senator. Is it Senator Burchett or congressman? Anyhow, he put up on the floor, let's take a vote to release all the Epstein files. He put it out there. Democrats voted no.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. What does that tell you?
I'm going to segue a little bit into the Marjorie Taylor Greene stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Please, Guardian, give me more advertisements for your thing. Like, I want to know what the sales are for them.
This is the Guardian. The Guardian hates Trump.
I know.
Hates
I only grabbed the article. I didn't really use the article. I've been hearing this from multiple sources. But
yeah, it's fine.
I like Marjorie Taylor Greene in interviews, but basically this is where it gets a little weird because I know she's in full support of releasing the Epstein files and always has been. Mm-hmm. And now Trump is kind of like, no, we're not going to do it. And then I don't know if I think maybe you can explain a little better why there's this little bit of a butting heads. But I I know that between her and JD Vance, they're supposed to be the next candidates for the presidency. More so JD Vance, but people have talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene being president, the first female
Mm,
president.
yeah, I don't know about
I
that,
don't
but
know.
okay.
Yeah, I never really got on that train, but I just want to know, like, in my eyes, especially with midterms coming up, it does kind of seem that she's making a lot of the wrong decisions, kind of against Trump and the Republican Party. Like, she's not really in agreement with everyone else to a certain extent, or she's a little too extreme in comparison. So my question is, why is now, besides the Epstein files, Trump kind of, I don't want to say turning on Marjorie Taylor Greene, but not so much, not giving her the support that I would have thought that he would have given her at this point.
Well, he's withdrawn his support for her. He
Yeah,
made a
but
point of
why?
saying that. Um, I I think a lot of it has to do. First of all, she's changing her tune a little bit because she's trying to move more. Um, she's trying to do a balancing act of hanging on to her MAGA stuff, but seeming like she's more towards the middle and doesn't agree with the president certain things. I think she most likely wants to run for Senate position, or to your point, she may want to run for higher office. I just don't know, if that translates across the nation. But then again, you have an AOC, they keep talking it up. Doesn't mean they're going to win, but you
Right.
get a lot of money and influence when you just run for office. Having said that, remember Elon Musk and Trump were having their little feud too,
Right.
and Trump said he needs help and he's got problems and blah blah blah, and now they're cordial again, right? Sometimes you do these things for negative publicity to take attention off of other things that are going
Sure.
on. But when it comes to, she's a staunch supporter of Epstein files being released. Okay. Like we said, not against that, not want to waste my time on some of these other things that, release it so we can find information about Trump. I don't think she's doing that. I don't think that was her intention. But I think Trump is more of a big picture saying, we've done so many great things in this country. Why are we honing in
It's
on
true.
that?
Yeah, why are we honing in on
And
the negative rather than the positives of all the things he's done, right?
right, and he's been through the ringer, and I think he's starting to see he gets their number. He knows what's going on here. They don't want the Epstein files. They don't want to release it. They want to pin something on
On
him.
him, yeah.
And I think that's why his attitude is enough with this stuff. It's going nowhere. What are you doing with it? Nobody's going to get prosecuted over it. Nobody's going to go to jail over it. Oh, you're going to have all these names thrown out there, as we've said before. Some of them may be high level people in other countries, people that we
That we
wouldn't
have no
suspect.
no jurisdiction over.
Right. And so what's going to happen to them other than it's just going to make Trump's presidency more difficult, right?
Yeah,
He's got to negotiate with these people. Okay. Now, I don't normally say that that's an excuse, but we're back to what we said before. If you're not going to prosecute the wrongdoers, name and shame. They're not being shamed. All you're doing here is drumming up a headache for the current administration, who has done a lot of incredible things that nobody's even focusing on. Oh yeah, peace deal with Taiwan and what was the other country, right? Major hasn't happened in 35 years. They've been fine. It gets zero attention.
yeah.
No, we got to talk about, did somebody see Trump on Epstein's island?
Well, I think it's
So
because one affects us a little bit more in the sense of it's right here. Like people aren't
right,
like the fight, and plus they're not major wars or anything. But I know a
right.
lot of like I would even argue that a lot of Republicans right now are kind of looking at the Israel Palestine stuff a little differently. Like I think I'm not saying they're anti-Israel, but I'm saying I think they're done with this war. Like I think they're like, okay, get it over with. Like there's nothing left here. You guys got to figure this out. And I think
Well, I
Trump's kind of
will
on that
say
boat
this.
too.
Yes, I will say this, and I think this speaks more to your age group. When I looked at the polling, that what was his name, Mark or Mike Mitchell from Rasmussen, great pollster, and he came out and he was talking about Trump's approval ratings right now, and the Epstein stuff. Yeah, he said, but I agree with this. I said this during Ukraine. I only care so much about other countries right now
Right.
because our own country needs a lot of help. We need somebody getting in there and fixing domestic problems. To Trump's credit, he's fixing fires around the world, and it's really not a lot of effort for him, to his credit, which makes you wonder just how inept were these other presidents or their administrations, or did they really even bother? Maybe there was a
Yeah.
reason why. Anyhow, he's putting these fires out. Well, that's wonderful. But meanwhile, we have a lot of issues in this country. And I do agree with the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and others who say enough with the Israel, enough with the Ukraine. You know, the young people in this country are, capitalism is failing them, voting is failing them in many cases, cultural wars are coming at them. They can't afford a home, they're not getting jobs. H-1B visa thing is exploding for younger people coming out of college or trying to find a job. That's the future of this country, and that is a big chunk of the future voters. And they don't really care about problems around the world and
Right.
solving every other world's problem. So I do think there is a push to have this administration start focusing on more domestic issues.
Right.
Even though they are, probably more so than any other president, but not enough is getting done. There's too many obstacles with the
Right.
courts, and there's not enough attention or not enough victories here.
Well,
Right?
I do want to get into, I mean, we could go into it now just to get rid of all the um, political stuff. But Amy Coney Barrett, right, with the tariffs. So right now they're probably looking at what's a 4-5 or 4-4, and then right, four against and 4 pro, getting rid of those tariffs, right? And then Amy Coney Barrett's the last one to kind of decide what she's going to do.
Yeah.
I've been paying a little more attention to this. Do we know which way she's probably going to vote on this one? Because I know the tariffs are very important because it literally keeps every country at bay, essentially. Um, but what happens?
Tariffs are important, but there is a legitimate argument. Tariffs are a tax.
Yeah,
You know,
in
it
a
eventually
sense.
trickles down to the citizens of this country. And when you're going to do that, it has to be done through Congress, specifically through the House of Representatives. They have the power for taxing and whatnot. So there is a question about that. But just as a reminder, before 44, that's how we funded our country, through tariffs.
Yeah.
That there was no income tax, and other things, but obviously that was a big chunk of it. Why we stopped doing that? Well, because we wanted to trade more and we wanted to open up markets and everything else. Okay, great. But now the president's being told he can't do it. I would make the argument that we are in an economic war with these other countries, and these tariffs are very important. And as you could see, it is making a difference in terms of not just revenue into our country, but in finally getting the American goods and the American country to get some respect in the open markets here, and forcing us, which is a good thing, to start producing here. We're going to need those jobs for people, and we can't send them overseas anymore.
Yeah, I think. Well, I know. I guess this kind of counts as domestic, but I saw, or I'm sure you saw, they're giving Elon that $1 trillion package for Tesla, Tesla. And then I saw a whole thing on how great that is because it's going to be jobs and it's going to do a lot of things. But it seems like the next kind of industrial revolution, in a sense, is going to be AI. I think that's going to be the big economic push. Now, Elon on Rogan talks about what the future is going to look like with AI and how important it is and how much money it's going to generate. Because you have to stop the bleeding, essentially, in our economy. And he thinks, again, I know Elon's a genius. Great guy. But the amount of money that you're anticipating that these AIs are going to bring in a future that you really didn't give us a time frame for, it's kind of tough to base your economy on that. So that's where I kind of, hold on, let me finish real fast, because I was just saying it kind of goes back to what you were saying about giving these giant companies this crazy amount of money, because I kind of lost my train of thought there, but it's kind of goes to show that either way, when you put, no matter how much money you throw at them, there's no telling what kind of advancements we're going to have. So you might be pissing $1 trillion into the wind for some just better robots. I'm sure that's not the case, but I don't know how much money you have to throw at someone or a company to get to where we see this utopian society that Elon was kind of hoping for on Rogan. And that is if everything hits properly in Elon's mind or time frame. So,
Well, I'll tell you something else that's now affecting the American citizens. The highest energy rates are in those cities that are near these data centers.
Hmm.
So, guess what? It is on the backs of the American citizens that we are paying for this AI stuff through your electric bill and your heat bills and everything else.
The power grid.
I have seen it over the last 3 years before this president. Electric bills were going up. Here in New Jersey, there was a campaign on that. I'm going to bring your electric costs down. I'm going to, it's going to have to be high and you're just going to have to live with it. And now when they're tracking these costs, it's in these areas where they're draining a lot of energy to do all this AI stuff.
Well, that's because they're probably going to end up pushing for nuclear eventually. Like, I think nuclear is going to be the next electric wave, like where most of our
And
power is
guess
going to come
what? We
from.
talked about that last time. They want to do it with the American people footing some of the bill.
All right.
Okay? All this is great, but you can't have socialism or government interaction on one hand and capitalism with the Elon Musks
Right.
on the other. Okay? Pick and choose. I'm all for capitalism. If a company and the shareholders want to pay their CEO $1 trillion salary based on performance and everything else, that's America.
Yeah.
It's going to affect their stock price, but if they think that's going to bring the value of their investment up, great. Not my business if I don't own Tesla stock, right? Or whatever,
True.
Starlink, whatever the stock happens to be. When you're funding something that's going to benefit a multi-trillion-dollar company using my tax dollars to do it, or I'm paying for these electric fees and whatnot, I'm not getting any AI. And to your point, my generation may never even see any true benefit to our lives through AI. Your generation or younger, they're actually going to be hurt initially by AI.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if it's
100%.
ever going to improve it, but
Well, I think again we always talk about the job takeover and what's going to go first, but I do think that we're going to see the next generation, and I shouldn't say next generation, but it's probably going to come even sooner. I, Everything that you hear online or whatever is going to be speculative to what everyone thinks is going to happen. So again, I'm just giving a guess here, but you're definitely going to go through a phase where anything mathematical, like anything that consists of compiling something, any job, like if you're crunching numbers, like I think that's going to
yeah.
be a thing of the past. You won't hear the word crunching numbers anymore because something will do it for you,
Well,
right?
AI has already taken out some entry level
Yeah,
jobs. That's
100%.
becoming apparent. Add to that the screaming that young people are doing in regards to H-1B visas, something that the president still supports. I have a problem with that. This is a corrupted system and it needs to be, I would like to see it eliminated altogether. I refuse to believe that talent only comes overseas and that, I need to replace my college grad with somebody from India because they have more expertise.
So I
Sorry.
think, yeah, I think the problem is, and I'm seeing this more so in China, where, and it's going to come here eventually. AI was supposed to be what does the quote unquote harder jobs. So, like, specifically medical, right? To help in medicine, coding, right? But now I see in China that they're basically just getting rid of minimum wage jobs, right? Which was supposed to be not so much the first thing to go, but now what do you do with all the people that don't have a college degree and are being taken over by AI? Now there's no jobs for them who can't afford to go to college or whatever because they have full on Burger Kings and McDonald's that have no employees. There's no point. Now it's just a machine.
Hmm.
Someone just stocks it, it makes it all. So we're still a little ways away, but I kind of looked at it as okay, so coding's going to be done. Uh, Maybe factories are going to be done. But when I saw the McDonald's that is at the point where it's just fully automatic, that's when I was like,
Hmm.
oh, the first thing's going to go is machines are going to get cheaper. AI is going
Yeah.
to get cheaper. It's going to be cheaper than paying someone minimum wage. Boom, done. We don't need you anymore.
Sure.
So
Sure.
bank tellers, that stuff's done. So the
But
more I
you under-
see, go ahead.
but do you understand that now the angst of people, it's been okay. So we know progress. If you want to consider AI progress, we knew that was going to happen. You're an idiot if you don't think that that was
Right,
eventually going to come and replace workers. Don't tell me, oh, AI can't replace people.
right.
They need to do certain things. Sure, maybe we'll see. But if you knew that that was ramping up, What's the worst thing you do? Now let's take away all these other jobs for American citizens by just having a visa program. So now you're screwing them. They can't get any job. It's bad enough they were phasing it out and making the job
Right.
market tight. Okay. Now you're adding to it. Well, we're just going to eliminate a whole. To what end? You're giving these jobs to foreigners that, to your point, originally the program was for those special workers that we can't get in the United States. They're so specialized and they're so blah, 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 blah. No, baloney. And that's ironically, it's an insult to America and shame on our education system, our governments, and not just this current one, not even just the last one, that you didn't see this train wreck coming. It's by design.
Right.
And now you put your very people in a position, and I'm one of the first ones to say, what is government doing for me other than driving us into the ground? And now you come along and say, well, guess what? Here's this shiny thing called AI. It's going to make your life so wonderful. But your electric bill is
Right.
going to go up. Okay, don't have a job. I can't get a job. You're telling me I'm going to lose my job if I have one by AI. But by the way, it's going to be great, and you get to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, because Elon was talking about this utopia about how eventually you'll have high-based universal income, which sounds great, I guess. But then the prices of stuff just go up, I guess, too. Like, there's a lot of factors of that. But luckily, Joe Rogan had a little pushback, and he said, well, what about motivation? If no one's working, what do you, like, you're just brainless at your home? And Elon couldn't answer that. He's like, yeah, you're right. Motivation should be a problem. And it's like, well, yeah, if people don't have motivation, what ends up happening? They just, like, start doing stupid shit. They start breaking
And
into
Chris, we were
houses and
saying
stuff.
this long before Joe Rogan, you and I, on our little tiny podcast.
Yeah.
What are humans have to do something?
Yeah.
You can't just sit in a sofa and have everything done for you. All right. You're not human anymore. I don't know what you are. You become just a blob. And that's when people say, oh, you're making it up that the AI people don't want humans anymore. There's no purpose for them. Now, we're talking light years down the road here. All universal income is socialism.
Yeah.
All this
Whether it's
AI
high or
is
low
gonna
or
do,
whatever. Yeah.
it's just a form of socialism, taking merit out of everything you do. What, my AI robot's better than your AI robot, so you should pay me more? I mean, come on.
Couldn't
It's
you argue though
nonsensical.
not to go derail the conversation or go off a different tangent, but couldn't you argue that technically like a tax refund is kind of like socialism or a tax rebate? Because it's socialized
Yeah,
money
well,
coming back to
I
you?
think taxes altogether is socialism.
Yeah, true.
I think
Yeah,
they're
I
ridiculous.
guess.
I mean, we could really go off on tangents, but just the mere fact that I have to pay more property tax than or more state and local tax than my neighbor because my house is more valuable. Why? The fire truck is only X number of dollars per person who lives there. The school education is one budget should be divided by every person who lives in that or every
Right.
adult in town. Why do I pay more just because my house is worth more? That's socialism.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair argument.
Okay.
I don't want
Why?
to.
Because I
Oh,
make more money, I get taxed more. It's socialism.
right.
You're getting penalized because you have more.
So
Anyhow.
we went off a little tangent there. I want to get back to Amy Comey Barrett, right? So
Oh, yes.
we were talking about the tariffs. Now,
Yes.
I think this is one of those things that's kind of big news that is kind of under the radar right now because those tariffs are so important in the sense of, as you said, it is kind of a attack in a sense.
Tax. Yeah.
Yeah, attacks, economic attack. But if so, the way I kind of want to do, what do you call those? Imaginary, no,
No,
image
hold on. Let me just clarify. Tariffs are a response to
an
the
attack.
economic attack overseas. I don't
Right.
mean it's an attack on citizens,
Right.
but it is essentially a tax.
I
to
said
us.
that wrong, but
Yeah.
so if you were Amy Comey Barrett right now, this is where I kind of struggle here because I know she's one of those people that's very wishy-washy on the decisions she makes, which I do kind of think that a judge should be in the sense of they should read the law. A Supreme Court justice should be unbiased and go by the law, right? Whatever the law says, that's their job.
Every judge should be that way,
Yeah.
but they're not.
Yeah. So if you're Amy Comey Barrett, and I'm looking at it just from the fundamentals of should this be allowed, I look at, as you said, all the accomplishments that Trump has had, arguably because of these tariffs. Why would I say no? So what? Like, what's the reason?
Because
Go ahead.
Well, because you have to look at the Constitution, you
Okay.
have to look at all the laws and the regulations since then. You also have to look at what's happened in the past, what's been allowed, right? They call that precedent.
Right.
And you have to make a decision based on, or you should make the decision based on the fact, not how successful a president currently is, right? You're not even supposed to look at it technically if we were at war right now, make your judgments based on that. It's supposed to be a universal understanding of the law and how it applies. So, if an administration is not, if the executive branch does not have the right to impose a tariff unless you meet the
Then
criteria,
you can say no.
you could say no, or they just make a judgment, right? The
Right.
Supreme Court says you can't do it. Now, the last administration, Supreme Court said stuff and they did it anyhow,
Right.
right? I don't think this current president would do that. He has not done that before. He has followed the rule of law. He may appeal things, but you can't really appeal for the Supreme Court. He would have to come up with another way of dealing with it. But the point is, what a Supreme Court, what they're all supposed to do, and their staff that we pay for as well, look at it and judge it based on the law. And what tends to happen is there is some bias. This administration, no, we don't like tariffs. He's using it for the wrong thing. Any other administration, they have done it in the past. It was allowed, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah. It's just very strange to think about how the Supreme Court is supposed to, all of them are supposed to just read it and go, hey, the Constitution literally says this, so we have to enforce this, but we don't do that. it's I find it funny that that's how that works. But if the
And you also have to take into account the originalists, those who follow the Constitution pretty much back to the basics. Let's go literally by what it says in the statutes, blah, blah, blah. Then there are those who look at precedents and whatnot. Now, they may not completely end his ability to do these tariffs, but they could curtail certain ones.
Gotcha.
You can
So
only do a certain amount. You can only do blah, blah, blah.
Right, which is
That
more
would be
likely
based
going to
on-
happen, right?
I don't know what's going to happen. I'll be honest. I mean, I am a proponent of the tariffs, but I do believe that if it does not fall within, we have a process in this country. They say the executive can't do it. Not allowed. Well, then it's up to our Congress to say, you know what? I think we need to look at that. Maybe we need to change the Constitution and allow a president to have that ability.
Wait, hold on. But okay, then I have to call you out a little bit because you said you can't make changes to the Constitution, right?
No, I'm sorry. Then I didn't mean it that way. I meant you can't rewrite it as you judge it. Meaning you can't change it on the fly and say, it doesn't matter. We have a process in the Constitution to alter the Constitution. That's why we have amendments to the Constitution.
Right?
But there's a process to do that. So when the Supreme Court decides something, like for instance, Roe v. Wade, they wound up reversing some of those decisions and everybody's head was on fire. What wound up happening was states changed their constitutions.
Yes.
They decided that they were going to do it. You could do that. But if you want to change something on a national level, there's a process. You'd have to have legislation, which is why the joke of it, we're really off on a tangent here. That's why Roe v. Wade was decided by the Supreme Court, because they couldn't pass it as legislation in Congress. You couldn't get enough people to pass abortion rights in Congress.
Right. So how many times has the Constitution ever been changed?
Well, every amendment to the Constitution is an addition.
Anything has been changed that was already done.
Originally the president could have as many terms as he wanted to. After Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was on his 4th term, they changed the Constitution and said you can only do 2 terms as president. They don't have to be consecutive, but he has to do 2. He can do up to 2 terms as president. That's an example. The Constitution said that the Senate was picked by the state legislatures, and then they changed the Constitution a long time ago to say, no, you have to vote for senators. You didn't always vote for a senator in this country. When we started, they were selected by, I believe, the state legislatures. Each state chose their 2 representatives to be senators.
Constitution.
And we had the amendment for making alcohol illegal, and they wound up reversing that amendment.
I'm just looking because I wanted an answer on how many times. So the Constitution has been formally changed 27 times through the official amendment process. But my
Yeah.
question is, that's adding things. How many times have amendments been changed? That
Well, I
it's
just
not giving
told
me the
you
answer for.
they had the amendment to the well, nor I don't know that they've changed amendments other than they've gotten rid of the I forget which one it was, but the alcohol
Oh,
legal
prohibition.
they yes they it was an amendment and alcohol was not allowed in this country, and then what was it, the 20s, and then they reversed that amendment.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay, so in total, it's been changed 27 times. But then I would ask, as a Democrat, right? Why was it okay to change it then, but when we wanted to make a change, Republicans were all up in a tizzy about you can't change the Constitution?
Well, it's not, you can't rewrite it without doing a formal process, right?
Okay.
That formal process being if you want to add an amendment to the Constitution, there's also a lot of statutes and whatnot that you can change, which doesn't affect the Constitution,
Yeah.
but it changes the
I
law.
think
So that,
so. What's
right?
funny is I think when people think of the Constitution, it's like, oh, it's like just a list of like the 20, however many it is, like 1, 2, 3, 4. But they don't realize that it's one. And then there's hundreds of paragraphs underneath. And then two, hundreds of paragraphs underneath. So,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, the amendments have a lot of details to them, but for the most part, the Constitution is pretty. I have it here. You know, I have both the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. It's not a long document,
Yeah.
but when you read it, it details in here, and that's a perfect example. It was, I don't believe it was it an amendment? I don't think it was, it might have been an amendment, but, originally they appointed senators. Now we vote for them. That was a change to to the Constitution.
Oh,
I don't recall if it was done through an amendment or what the process was. Probably was an amendment, but that's one of the things. And the terms of the executive branch, which is clearly spelt out in the Constitution, and that was later changed to say they can only do 2 terms. That's why when they joke about joke. Some of them are serious. Trump will have a third term. He's going to have a third term in
right.
2020. Okay, the only way you could do that is, oops, if you change, you'd have to do something with the Constitution. I mean, you can't just do that. You'd have. Did
Right.
I lose you?
No.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
I can still hear you. What just happened?
New
Did you lose?
audio detected.
No, you're good.
Okay, so I don't want to switch.
Yeah,
Can
don't
you
do
still hear
anything.
me?
Yep.
Okay, good. So anyhow, there's a process, and so the Constitution is what it is, and we live under the Constitution. And you have to follow the Constitution if you want to amend it, which is a fancy word for change it or alter it.
Gotcha.
And it's not an easy thing to do. You can also do it, which is in the Constitution, through the states, the state legislatures, but you have to have like 2/3 of all the states say, hey, we want this amendment added to the Constitution. And then you don't necessarily need Congress involved at all. You don't need it at the federal level. So the states could do it, but you have to have agreement with, I think it's like 2/3 of all the states. And that's when you have, it's called constitutional conventions. And that it's been done. I just don't know if any any amendments have been passed from it. I don't know
Gotcha.
that off the top of my head.
Well, we're gonna end that conversation here because
Yeah.
we're running out of we're going off a tangent and we're way off. So we'll have to just see what Amy Comey Barrett does. But we're gonna go back to AI for a second and we're gonna go into the more fun articles.
Yeah.
Billboard country chart topper is completely AI generated for the first time. Yeah, this is not good. I saw this. Everyone's been talking about it on YouTube, and I think it's not a good thing that, again, this goes back to jobs being taken. And
Yeah.
this one wasn't really on my bingo card. I know AI music is cool and all, but yeah.
Well, when I read the article, I listened to it. It's not bad, but it reminds me of years ago, people who played instruments were all up in arms because they started doing all the music with
Computers.
synthesizers and
Yeah,
whatnot.
this is
right?
what I've talked about.
Oh, it's taking jobs away, and now we have basically this is an AI is a synthesis of a lot of different voices singing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not bad, but it's certainly I wouldn't say like, oh, it's so much better than everybody else. It's such a better quality. So I don't find it threatening, and it's weird. It's like synthetic music.
It
It's
is,
kinda
but
weird.
and I think you can make the argument it's only number one because so many people wanted to see it, like to hear it.
Yeah.
Spotify, I just saw a whole article on all these rappers are kind of trying to sue Spotify for people botting songs or views, for basically musical views. And Spotify's like,
Right.
we don't benefit from that, so why are you suing us? Right?
And you know what I found interesting too? A lot of entertainers, whether they be actors, actresses, or music people, they like to and make a lot of money doing concert tours. You can't
Mhm.
do that with AI. What, you
Yeah.
just gonna put a screen up there and people are gonna sit there and watch the same thing they can watch at home, right?
See, I'm kind of a weird one when it comes to that because I'm someone that would rather listen to music. Like I have no desire to go to a concert. Why would I want to hear worse quality versions of the songs that I like? Like when we went to see that Ed Sheeran concert, right?
Yeah.
Like it's oh cool. He sounded. I'll say this. He sounded exactly like he would on Spotify, and I was like, why'd I come here? I was like,
Yeah,
wait,
I mean, that's a generational thing
yeah,
because sometimes, especially when you go to certain concerts when they're really good,
it's a show.
it's well, it's emotional too. It's not just listening, not just them performing. They
Yeah,
engage the audience, and you're right, you don't see a lot of that anymore. You don't really see that level of performance from bands that go out there and they just enjoy their music. They like
right.
playing it. And also, what's nice is, some songs nowadays, you listen to them, it's a live version. It's not the same as the recorded version.
Right.
It's not necessarily worse, but sometimes it's better, or sometimes, it's different. And for a musician, when that's your baby, when that's your creation, to be able to nurture it and perform it and change it a little and get responses from people, they
Yeah.
sing it back to you. Like you and I are weird. We both were at that Ed Sheeran concert. And for me, I just think it's cool. I was singing with Ed Sheeran. We were
Oh, see, I
literally
don't see it
singing
like
his
that.
song with him. I know, because
Yeah,
it's a million,
that's
hundreds,
interesting.
thousands of people around you. But that is what's special about it. It's, he's performing his song and you're part of it. You're there. He doesn't have a band though. Like when he was performing, it
Yeah,
was a little
that's
bit
what
different.
Ed Sheeran's kind of listen. Love his music, Ed. If you see this, love your music. But if the problem is like he's not, he's a one man band and he
Right,
uses pedals, right? So everything's just
right.
on a loop pedal. It's not like he's a great guitarist. Obviously, makes great songs, but it's not exciting in a sense. And maybe it's a little less exciting for me because I could do the same thing here with my guitars. I guess. I don't even know how to put it, but if anything, the lesson that I'm getting out of this is, oh wow, AI really is taking over everything, including music.
Yeah, it is. I agree. We talked about that. It
Yeah,
is. It is. When I saw this and I played it, I go, okay, let me hear how good it is. And it's
yeah.
not bad. It's just, I'm like, okay, something's just not right. It feels synthetic to me.
I
The music sounds synthetic. It doesn't sound like somebody's voice to me.
yeah, I read a whole article on how a lot of celebrities in the acting are either it's basically 50-50. They're okay with AI using their voices and then the other ones aren't. And then
Right.
wonder if it's the same thing with music in the sense of you're using excuse me, wait, like I think there's going to be two types of musicians. The one that goes, "Hey, don't use my voice in a song." And then there's going to be the other half that goes, wait, you can use my voice. I'm getting paid and I don't have to do the work. Well, like, this is perfect. I can't take it to the stage, but I'm still going to make money. And I wonder, I know people still like concerts, but I'd like to see what concerts look like now in the sense of who's going. Like, what's the percentage of like what's the age group, what's the range? I think people are more likely to go my generation is more likely to go to a festival with multiple bands than just go to see one person. I could be completely
Well, I don't
wrong on
know.
that.
Taylor Swift made a lot of money with her Eras tour. That's
That is
one
true.
woman. She does perform. It's not just singing, right? But there is an audience and there's a market out there. And I'll flip it to like the actors and actresses. There's a difference every night when somebody puts on a performance on Broadway or off Broadway or any type of
True.
stage performance. It is organic. How are they going to perform that night? What little thing is going to change for it? So you could make the case that every night it's a different show. Yeah, it's the same script, it's the same everything. You don't
That's
get that
true.
with AI. I
Yeah.
don't know how you would do that with AI. Now there's young people who may not care. Maybe people don't like theater, they don't know how to
Like
do that.
I would probably fall into that category. I know I'm weird in that sense where I'm like I really like plays are cool, I guess, but I'm not dying to go see one. Like I'm not. You'll never see me go, man. I really want to buy a ticket for that show. But if someone bought me a ticket and was like, hey, you want to go see the show? I'd be like, yeah, sure, okay.
Well, and
Yeah,
that's the
like I
difference.
don't have
Like
the
you're
desire.
right. You have not grown up with that. I didn't either until I was older and started to see more shows.
Yeah.
I had my appreciation grew. I went to a lot more concerts when I was younger than you and your
Right.
brothers ever did, because when I was probably
But
I did a
also,
lot of concerts, and I think you find when you go to them, there are really good ones, not so great ones. Some songs are good, some songs are not good. Some bands that are really popular and hot at the time, then they perform live and they're
right.
crap, right?
Yep. I think, well, side note, I'm looking at all these older guys that are still trying to keep it going in their 80s, and
Yeah,
you're just like, oof.
yeah.
But I also think that the times are a little different in the sense of you could technically drive to where the concert was. Like Madison Square Garden is not that far from home. If I was closer to, like, if I lived on Broadway, like that street, yeah, I'd probably go a lot more.
Well, you wouldn't
But
say on Broadway. Maybe it's the city,
like
maybe.
like lived in the city by it. You know what I mean? Like close by. I'd
Well,
go,
no,
oh,
I'm
maybe
not.
it's,
And listen, I'm not even saying New
yeah,
York, but I'm just saying stage, because you have it. London was the original. You have it all around our country. You have
sure.
great
I can
performances.
also YouTube it.
Um,
And
right,
that's where
right.
I get
Yeah,
weird. And they
you
go, oh, it's
can,
not
but
the same experience. But that's when I go, oh, wait, once VR gets good, virtual reality, oh, I'm at the movie theater anyway.
no. Here's the difference, and this is what I'm trying to say. You could take an album as digital. You could take a song on Spotify. You could play it over and over every day. It's the same song. It's great. You love it, right?
Right.
When that person performs it live, whether it's acting, you could watch it VR one time, there it is, blah, blah, blah. That's recorded to some extent, or you're virtually there, blah, 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 that one time. Every time it's done, it's organic. It could be a little different. The voice could be a little different. The timing's a little different. Somebody in the audience sneezes and somebody makes a comment, it's funny. Same thing
Yeah.
with concerts. They take a song and they tweak it, they change it. Sometimes they insert the name of the town they're into the song. It gets everybody involved in something.
Yeah, that's where
You're not
I
gonna
kind of lose the, like, for me, and again, this is completely me, and maybe some people agree, but I don't care enough about it to. Cause
No, I get it.
I don't care enough about, oh wow, they put my city's name in a uh song rather than the original. It's like, okay, cool, but that doesn't change the fundamentals of the song for me. But I'll say this: when we saw Brendan Urie in Kinky Boots, remember that in Broadway?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, hate admitting that, but whatever. That was impressive because he's at such a high level. Like, I do think that he's like arguably the greatest male singer we've had, up there with like Freddie Mercury and a lot of the other guys. Like, I put him up there as like our generational male talent. But even then, I'm not like, let me go see him again. You know, I'm like, okay, that's it.
Well,
I
yeah,
just
I
like
mean,
don't care.
again, you didn't grow up at that. I mean, if you
Yeah.
were somebody in the city and a show comes out, it's a big, and you have money. Obviously, it's not your average person, but it just, you have an appreciation for it. Like, for instance, okay, somebody plays a guitar, big deal, big whoop.
Yeah.
I don't care. You have an appreciation for somebody who plays something really challenging
Really well.
because
Yeah.
you play guitar. If you were into the theater growing up, or if you went to concerts, you would start to see a
Right.
difference
Right.
and you would appreciate it more.
But I'm
Let
trying
me
to put
give you an
myself.
example.
Oh, go ahead. Go
Hold
ahead.
on, let me just give you something that a long time ago you were watching some game online, I believe, or playing a game, or you were watching something, and the guy was going down one of the streets in our neighborhood. Remember that? I think it was a TikTok thing. He was recording something, and it was a street you recognized here. And you called me to say, "Hey, I was just watching such and such, and it was that street right down by us, whatever." It was something
Wow.
nobody else would have cared about, but it resonated with you because you knew the area that was in it.
But
Same
then
thing
this
for
kind of
like a
goes to the counter argument is it must not have been that important because I don't remember that at all.
well, at the time, it was a big deal to you.
Right.
My point is when it's something that you relate to, like a
Sure.
song that you like, and they talk about, Old Black Water, Mississippi Moon, and they
Right.
say Saratoga Moon because you're seeing it at Saratoga. That's a piece of iconic music that everybody knows, and then they
If
put
I
a
did
place that
theater in
in it.
high school, I'd probably be more into theater, like
That
Broadway.
too,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah, you'd
I
have
would,
appreciation for it.
yeah. And don't get me wrong, I definitely have appreciation for it. Just like how I have an appreciation for art, but you're not going to see me at a museum of natural history, right? I do like that museum, but I'm just saying in general. Like, I think I think
Going back to
here's
what we're
the
saying though, that's not, you can't recreate those things with AI.
true. Hold on. I think you're right, but I think you can recreate the experience of it. So what I mean by that is we're getting to God. Again,
No,
every podcast is AI now. But here's what I
it
mean.
copies the organic. It's not the organic. Yes, it can copy an organic scenario. An AI person can now do a song and throw in my name. Fine, but it's copying, just like the singer that we're talking about this article. It's a confluence of all these different voices copied, made into a voice and a sound. That's fine. It is what it is. But you cannot recreate with AI the organic side of it because by it
Right.
is not organic. We are organic. When you perform or when somebody writes a song or when they perform that song, it's it can be copied by AI, but AI is never by its nature going to be able to create something organic. It can only take from the
I
organic and
don't.
make something.
I don't. I think you're right now. I don't know if that'll be true later on. I don't think it'll be my lifetime, but I think when we see the advancements that we are having and how they've kind of gone the opposite, not opposite way, but they've gone different directions than how we thought. I think we will get to the point where you will have. Do you remember 4D movies? Like when you would go to the
Yes.
Shrek Day, I think it will get to that point eventually where, like, oh, this is right in my face. Or you get to the next level of, oh, I'm part of this. Like, more so, I'm part of this experience. Like, let me ask you this. Going back to the Ed Sheeran concert before we move on.
Hmm.
Imagine, right? You see it as, oh my God, I'm seeing with Ed Sheeran. But what if in virtual reality and AI, I'm up there with Ed Sheeran? That experience might be better than
Yeah,
sitting in a crowd.
but it's still Ed Sheeran. If
I
you tell
think
me it's an AI Ed Sheeran, a compilation of stuff that he's done before, that's not bad either.
right.
It's just not organically him.
And I think that goes to the generational difference because I would argue that nowadays, like the next generation is going to be the kids that would rather do that than actually go to a concert.
I think that I would
And
agree
it'll
with you
swing.
because that's what's being imposed on young people.
Exactly.
That's what's being ingrained on you every day. You guys are in front of these virtual boxes of whatever kind, and adults too, not just young people, but that generationally, that's why those of us, and we're a dying breed, we
Oh,
will die out and you guys will be left. You're being convinced that that is better. I'm not
yes.
saying right or
I
wrong,
agree.
but the world is convincing you you will love AI. It's going to be great. It's not great now, but it's the future. Every dystopian movie since before I was born paints that picture of we're all going to wind up there, and guess what? Never does it say everybody's happy.
Right. I'm going to move us on. I'm going to get rid of
Go
your
ahead.
cows and methane one just because we're really running
My
out of time.
cows.
We
All
could, if
right.
we have, we're already an hour and 12 in.
Go ahead.
So this
Pennies
one
no
was pretty
more.
good. Yeah, pennies no more. After the coins,
232 years later, pennies are gone. They started in
no more
1793.
pennies
They
out
just
of
ended.
circulation. Start hoarding
They're
them.
well, no, they're still in circulation, right?
Right.
They cost 4 cents to make a 1 penny.
Yeah, it's like
So it's
3.9.
gonna save, yeah, it's gonna save the US people, the taxpayers, $56 million cost. The first penny had a lady with flowing hair, which was supposed to be your liberty lady. She was made of pure copper. In 18, I think 87 or no, 57, they went to copper at 88% and nickel at 12%. So it wasn't a full copper penny.
Right.
Then they went from the flying eagle and the wreath. Then there was the Indian head. But in 1909, as a tribute to Lincoln for his 100th birthday, it became the penny that we all traditionally know, the Lincoln
Oh
head
wow.
penny. And now it will not be produced anymore.
Yeah. So you'll still see them, but
Yeah.
not as
There's still
much.
enough. I think they said for 30 years it'll still circulate.
Yeah. We'll do
Next
your
30
cow
years.
one since we got through that one quick. Danish cow sickened by mandated methane inhibitor.
Okay, so your Green New Deal,
Yeah.
all right? They forced the farmers in Denmark to give their cows Bovaer, Bovaer. Okay, you have to put it in the feed to reduce their methane emissions, meaning cow farts. Okay,
Yes.
because of this, they're all noticing they're getting less milk out of the cows. They're all getting bacterial infections, and many of them, unfortunately, have to be euthanized. Okay, farmers also will get carbon credits for doing this too. So they're trying to manipulate the farmers to do this. When they add it back, the cows got sick. once they took the cows off of this stuff, they were fine. So they've directly related it to this particular Green New Deal. Everybody's got to do it. And now we got to euthanize the cows. As an aside, I just saw this morning the guy from Omaha Steaks, the CEO, was saying how by 2027, you'll be paying $10 a pound for beef. Not directly related to this story. He was talking about other things. But when you kill off cows because you got to put this garbage in their feed, which, by the way, I don't want this stuff in the cow
Right.
meat, and it's obviously making them sick. What are we doing here, people?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Okay.
We're killing the
So I
cows.
think the farmers are fighting it.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully that's how it'll end up and they'll win.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into our gaming news. So let's start with the bad one first, which is so we had Black Ops 7 come out 2 days ago, Mom.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I almost lost my shit on stream. So you know this. The last 4 games have been terrible, right? This was the one that was supposed to bring everyone back together. So I download this game, which is 350 gigabytes, which is 70% of a normal computer, right? So right off the bat, they're like, hey, you can't even own any other games because you're going to need this, right? They just get bigger and bigger. Like they think we're going to play this all the time. Now, it's just whammy after whammy for this game. Worst sales on first day ever. They could barely break 50,000, which that's terrible, right, on Steam. Now, this is what really pissed me off. Activision has been taking L after L. They had all the lawsuits. They know they're bad. They get chewed out every day, and they go, hey, if you want to play our game, I launched this game, right? That, let's say I paid $70 for. Luckily, I have the Game Pass, so I didn't have to bother. And I can't launch the game because you have to have what's called TPM enabled, which means you have to, when you boot your computer, you have to go into the computer's BIOS and change how your PC boots in order to play their game. What kind of audacity do you have to have a failing game that's been failing for 4 years now and then going, hey, I know we're basically taking over your computer, but we need you to change how your computer boots so you can play our game. Now, listen, if you were a reputable company who hasn't been doing F up after F up for the last 10 years, maybe, or 5 years, maybe I'd consider changing how my game boots. Oh, Dad's about to come down and yell.
No.
Oh, what was that? What are you looking for?
Oh, no, I'm looking at the bigger screen because I can't. It's blurry on your screen. Overwhelming dislike. I was looking at the info on that.
Right. So, but I'm just saying, it's so crazy to me that they thought that it would be like, hey, guys, like think of the meeting. Hey, guys, we just had 4 bad games in a row. What can we do to make this one better? Here's a great idea. Mediocre campaign, which everyone's talking about. Most people wanted to play zombies, which is like the big Black Ops. Like that's like Black Ops' thing. Like that's what they're known for. You can't play zombies until you finish the campaign, which is terrible. Right. The multiplayer's but I have to change how my computer physically works to play your game. Like you'll never see me touch COD. You'll never see me touch a game where I have to change my boots.
Is that by design? Because they're thinking, hey, let's force them to just play this game.
So they have a lot of cheating problems, like a lot of people cheat in video games. So they argue that this is to prevent cheating. But let me ask you this. If I screw up my computer, which I use for more than just gaming,
right?
That's a risk that I'm willing to take for a game that's probably going to be mediocre. Like even if it was a 10 out of 10 game, I'd still hesitate to change how my computer works, right?
Right.
If anything, what it does make me do is go, let me get a PlayStation and get Call of Duty if I really care. Right. Not doing that. Or a second computer that was just for gaming.
Right.
So when you use your computer as a workstation, and here's the thing, it's probably not that big of a deal to do. But also I would say I know enough about computers. I know how to change it and change the boot drive and whatever. If I was someone that bought a pre-built computer, didn't build it myself, didn't know how to do this, what do you do? Do I hide the audacity you have to tell me to change how my computer works to play your shitty game?
But not that if I say I designate a computer just for gaming, does that mean I have to switch it back and forth if I play a different game?
No, no,
Oh,
it's a security measure that you could have enabled, but again, it's like, are you willing to take the risk to, let's say something, let's say you have your computer set for certain types of booting,
yeah.
and then I would have to change it every single time, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
yeah, it's just the audacity you have to, instead of fixing your terrible anti-cheat system, telling
Yeah.
me how to how I should control my computer is insane to me. When we had Battlefield 6 come out recently, which is doing amazing, and it's just better in every way, shape, and form, and I don't have to change how my computer boots.
Well, and let me tell you something. You're going to piss off a lot of parents because kids who use their computers to do this, and
Yeah.
then they got to go sit down and
Mom,
do work, and you're
Dad,
like, Son, what did you just
I know
do?
you work on this computer, but I have to change how your computer boots to play it. Like,
Well,
it's so
99% of
stupid.
people don't know how to fix
Yeah.
like that anyhow, as you know within our own family. The slightest glitch and it throws them, let
Oh my
alone if
God,
they
half
gotta
of us
come
can't
and
remember
figure
our
out.
passwords, and you expect
Well,
them
and
to
like
figure. Yeah.
right, or a 10-year-old's gonna know how to switch it back for mom's work.
Mom, do you know? Let me just ask you this: if you had to right now, do you know how to get into the BIOS of your computer?
No, of
Exactly, that's
course
what I mean.
not.
So even most gamers who just launch their computer because they got a
Right.
pre-build aren't gonna know how to do that, right?
That's what I'm saying, all these kids that do it, and they're doing it on their own, their parents or even
Yeah,
their own computer, but yet, "Ma, I can't get my homework up.
yeah,
Could you help me?" I would scream.
I know. So it's like they want a designated gaming computer. Like, here's the thing: I'll probably do it just because I'd be willing to try the new Call of Duty, and I know how to do it, and I know it's not gonna fuck up my
Right.
computer. But if I was, as I said, a guy that bought a $1,500
Yeah,
pre-built, I have a full-time job, I got a wife and kids, I just want to play Call of Duty and feel like a kid again, and then he launches it, it's like, hey, you have to change how your computer works to play our game. It's like, are you guys like, what was the, I would rather deal with the few cheaters that I see in a video game. Like, I've played Call of Duty for 4 years now, the newer ones, right? I've run
right.
into cheaters maybe like 20 times out of the
Yeah,
thousands of games I've played. It
right,
wasn't that
right.
big of a deal. Fix your anti-cheat. Don't try and make me change my
Right.
computer.
Not my problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your problem. That should be
So,
your business expense.
so let's go
Let
into.
me ask you
Oh, go
something.
ahead.
Is the guy on it Milo Ventimiglia? Is he the main guy that I'm
Uh,
looking at there? The actor? Oh,
Actor
okay. I don't know if you
in.
met because the woman looks like the one from she was the little girl on
Yep, you're right.
it
Milo
was
Vent.
Milo. Oh,
You're right.
right.
It is
The girl looks
Milo.
like the one from Mad Men, the daughter. I
Yeah,
can't think of her name.
Kieran Shipka.
Rivka. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
then
yeah. Okay.
Michael Brooker is Mike Harper.
Oh,
So
okay. Interesting. So
yeah,
they
that's
use
where
it.
they got it
Yeah.
behind. Yeah.
Okay.
Good for them. Too bad your game sucks. But anyway,
Yeah.
speaking of gaming computers, I was like, this is the gift for Dad. This is the one.
For Dad. Oops,
Steam
sorry,
just
called the phone
released or just showed their Steam machine.
Steam machine.
The Steam machine.
Okay.
They've actually had one, but this thing's pretty sick. You gotta look at this thing.
Looks like an Xbox.
Look at it's a GameCube, right? It's
Yeah.
not that big. Now this kind of goes, not to go off on a tangent again, because we're definitely getting close to the end here. Remember we were talking about the console wars and how people aren't going to get a $1,500 computer
Yep.
or whatever?
Yep.
Take a guess what the price is going to be. And
$1,500.
$1,500, $800, which is not that far off from. It's better than a console. It's probably about
Yeah.
roughly $300 more than a PlayStation, right? Or because they were charging $500 for
Yeah.
the cheapest version, $800, more games, more everything. It's essentially a mini computer. So this is what I was talking about, where I said technology is moving so fast, they're bringing these down. So
Uh-huh.
it's a matter of time before the consoles are going to start going away. Even the CEO of Sony said, who makes PlayStation, said, yeah, we're probably looking at a time where there won't be consoles anymore. But I
Right.
think it's adorable. Look at how big it is. Perfect for Dad.
Guess so. I don't know.
But what's also pretty cool is this little front panel changes, so you can get little attachments for it.
Oh, I see the little skin
Yeah.
and whatnot.
They
Yeah,
actually
that's
make
what
one
makes
that's
money.
they make one that's actually like a little screen so that you can see how your computer's running and stuff. So you can see all the temperatures and everything, which I think is a pretty cool feature. So, Might be worth it for the house. Too bad they didn't make this when.
Oh,
Too
please.
bad they didn't make this. Yeah.
Valve steam machine it's called.
Yeah, the Valve
VALV.
steam machine. Yeah, the steam machine. And then they also, as we talk about with VR, how Steam keeps everything very secret. You know, I'm very impressed with how secretive they are because usually there's leaks and stuff. They just came out with their new Valve headset, which is phenomenal. It's like the next big leap in the sense of you don't need the freaking sensors anymore. It'll just go by a room.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're getting there. We're getting there. But
I laugh at all the steam machines when you Google it.
the car cleaners.
Carpet cleaning steam machine.
Those will be a thing of the past. Oh, here it is right here. So here's the Steam Deck.
Oh, yeah.
The new VR headset, which more buttons, more everything, which I'm excited for. Their new controller, which I don't really use their controllers.
Looks like the old ones, but
yeah. Well, look at it. It's got 2 mouse pads, which is pretty nice.
yeah.
Yeah. And then the steam machine. So very impressive. I like to see technology advance. I like seeing when technology advances. Well, just in general.
Changing it up a little bit.
The leaps and bounds that they make. So, yeah. Well, that's all I got. I can't think of you. We covered it all. A good hour and a half podcast. Yeah, we hit everything today. But yeah. So, I mean, I guess we can end it there.
I think we did. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll end it there. The only things I have to promote is obviously the podcast from last week. Did a game called Egging On Wednesday. And then today, Saturday, yesterday, today's Sunday. Saturday, I posted a speed run for Resident Evil 6, the second one. And then next week, we'll probably do the speed run for Resident Evil 7. I forgot how good that game was for the time. You know what I learned playing that game? Because it was Game of the Year like back in 2015. It's a very short game. Just because bigger does not mean better. It's actually an incredibly short, small game. But for the time, very well done. Very well done. Oh. So we'll probably bang that speed run out this week. And
4 stars from Pancake.
Good 4. 4, not 5, but 4. Yeah. 8's more of a 5-star, but yeah.
Not bad.
So yeah, social media, promo code Streamlinks, or Steam Link. Wait. Whoa. Social media, promo code Streamlinks, and Discord down below. For those who do want to try to... Oh, wow. Hold on. Did you see what I just did there? I just had a huge brain fart. Did an outro to a gaming video. So, hold on. Why am I struggling here? So, how do I end these? Social media, promo code Streamlinks, Discord down below, and we will see you guys. I'll see you at stream, and you'll see Mom next week. Laters.